What is going on, my Just Start family? Chris here, and today's video is definitely a little bit heavy. Why is that? Because it's about mental health and how I use fitness to get my mind right. So let's do a deep dive into some not easy to talk about, but stuff that I think people do struggle with, and maybe you do too, and maybe this video can help you. So we're going to start this back in 2012, 2013 time frame. I was a defense contractor in the Middle East. And if you know anything about the time frame, it was pretty hectic. There's a lot going on. But more importantly, there was a virus going around over there called MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. And, you know, at the time, it didn't really seem like all that much. Like, I was in Japan when SARS was going around. It didn't really affect me, whatever. But for some reason over there, it actually mentally affected me. It made me start to worry that, you know, something could happen to me while I'm over there, you know, trying to make money instead of, you know, defending country and whatnot. And it didn't really click in my head while I was over there, while I was dealing with mentally, because I would go to the doctors like, oh God, I can't breathe. I have shortness of breath. Is this a problem? They're like, no, you're perfectly healthy. I leave there. I come back to the States. Never have those symptoms again. Don't ever have the shortness of breath. Don't have the worry. Don't have any of the stuff that I was experiencing over in the Middle East. Fast forward to 2019, 2020. Well, what happens? COVID happens, right? And the world sort of shuts down. And for me, to give you sort of an idea of what I had going on, I was working on a bachelor's and working full time. So I had 5 classes that I went to in person. And then at night went to work. It was an engineer, so it was pretty mind intensive work. So there was not really any downtime for me. So when schools stopped being in person, they shut down before they figured out how to do Zoom. Like, I went from 1,000,000 miles an hour to 0. And that had a massive impact on me mentally, because I was so used to going and doing stuff all the time to nothing. My mind started to catch up. So like those years back when I was in the Middle East, and then coming here, like I saw everything shut down, all these people get sick and all this stuff, and all of those feelings and worries came flooding back and hit me so incredibly hard. And it kind of came to a head when I was at work one time. So I work nights. There's only 2 other people on nights, and I was walking from my desk out to, I think, the break room or something, and my vision did this. Like, oh my God, I almost blacked out. What in the world? So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just hungry or whatever. Maybe it's a sugar crash. This is what it felt like, was a sugar crash. So I went and got some, I think it was actually grape packets, and ate those and thought it was okay. But really, I had cold sweats and just like, what in the world? And I actually had to go to the lab lead and be like, hey man, you need to call medics and the EMT people to come out and check on me. Something's not right. So they come, they stick probes on me, check my heart rate. They even stick my finger, check my blood glucose. Everything was fine. There's nothing physically wrong with me. So went back to work, and needless to say, from that point on, things just kind of snowballed. I know you're thinking, like, right now you're going, what in the world are you just talking about, like mental and have breakdowns, whatever. How does this have anything to do with fitness? I'm getting there. Trust me, there's a whole theory in my mindset of how things changed through fitness. From that point, it started to snowball, and I was having trouble being around people. I was having trouble being either alone or within like 1 or 2 other people without having some form of heaviness and worry, and having these episodes where it was actually affecting my motor skills. Like, I had to climb on things, and I actually almost fell off of one because what I was feeling was such a physical impact that I would become weak and disoriented. And this stemmed a probably 6-month long doctor's visit. Like, I racked up probably $2,000-3,000 in doctor bills getting blood work. I went to the ER twice to get IVs. Like, after that first little time where my vision changed, I went to the ER and actually took 2 bags of fluid. So I was a little dehydrated, because before this all started and everything shut down, I was actually training with a personal trainer, trying to get a certain goal. Obviously when all that stopped, this is when COVID COVID hit, it got to the point where I wasn't able to do the things that I just naturally enjoyed doing, one of which is riding motorcycles. And one early morning, it wasn't even that hot. I think we got to like 85 sometime in that morning here in Arizona. And I met up with some friends. We went for about 45-minute ride. And again, this is out in the desert, not really out in the desert, it's paved road, but this place is kind of out there. It's away from most civilization, but like talking 10 miles, it's not that far. And as I'm going, I'm getting these weird hot sweats. And yes, it's warm, but like, not like these where you kind of have a chill, but you're also sweating. It's very strange. And I didn't really pay much mind to it. I just figured I was sweating a little bit. The breeze is hitting me, so there's a chill. Anyways, we get to the point where we're stopping at, and I'm like, okay, get some water, bathroom, whatever. And that same feeling of sugar crash was hitting me, and I'm just like internally freaking out. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. What in the world? I'm gonna black out or everything. And the more I stood around, the more it was just like crawling out of my skin, just being there. So I hopped on my bike and just hauled back into the city, and I stopped the first gas station, got a Gatorade, thinking again it was a sugar crash. So got a Gatorade, drank it, thought I felt better, but it was still leaving me kind of weak and not, my motor skills are kind of not there, and like manipulating the brake and the throttle and everything, it just wasn't normal. So I get home, drink some more Gatorade, and just kind of get back into it. And this stemmed, I don't know if to call it OCD, but it might as well be, where I'm like, okay, I need to check my blood glucose all the time, like as if I was a diabetic. And I was sticking myself 3 or 4 times, 5 times, not in a day, like in a matter of a couple hours, to see what blood sugar was. And anytime I felt weird, I'm like, okay. And it always came back sort of normal. Every once in a while I'd screw it up and it would be high or be way low or something, and I just freak out, right? So that's then after that I went back to the ER to get more tests. They did more checks on my heart to see if anything was wrong. Again, nothing. That's when I started to go and look into the mental side of things. So I reached out to my GP doctor, the one that always sees me, is my general practice, family medicine, what have you. And he gives me benzos. Know what they are. They, with anxiety, antidepressants, and they mix with the brain in a weird way. You guys can Google that. I'm not going into it because one, I personally don't fully understand it, and there's just better information out there. But he prescribed those to me and beta blockers, which is very odd. But the idea behind it was that it would help relax the blood vessels and hopefully do the same to me, so I can kind of even keel. I'm skeptical of meds and like that in general. Like, they absolutely have a purpose. Don't get me wrong. If you need them, you absolutely need them. But with what I was dealing with, I didn't believe they were needed. So I use slivers of this stuff, and they work great. They definitely calm me down. But the problem was with the side effects of those, you kind of have to like wean off of them. If you're on them for like 3 days, like there's a chemical change in your brain, and then you can literally have withdrawals from them. So I didn't really want to deal with that. And then I took the beta blockers like twice, and they were horrible. They made me feel the absolute worst, as if I was having the worst sugar crash ever. And I just stopped those. So I'm sitting there going, okay, these meds work, but they have, you know, really bad side effects, especially for someone that shouldn't really be on them. And 2, I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, what do I do? So I end up back into that. It's hard to talk about. Back to that anxiety phase, and just like, what am I gonna do about this? So I reached out and got some therapy. I got 2 different therapists. One of them in a different stretch of time. The first one I got was a dude that was a Buddhist practitioner, and guy was awesome. Helped me look at things in a totally different way, and helped bring yourself into the now. One of the biggest problems when you deal with anxiety or anything is you just, once you start thinking about all the different possibilities, they snowball and become this terrible thing. So he gave me techniques to recenter myself, look around the room, see what you see, say it out loud, hum or and create a vibration in the body, and it really helps you get back to the now. All of that kind of helped give me a baseline and not keep me too high or too low in everything, as far as like my anxiety spikes or troughs. Kind of try to keep me as even as possible, or deal with those things as needed. So with those techniques, I got off of the meds, and that's, again, they were a backup, but they weren't necessary. So after I figured that out, I decided to test myself. I knew that being away from people, being on my own, being out in the middle of nowhere, all the things that prior to this point I was absolutely fine with, were a major problem for me. So I took a trip from Arizona to California, 8-hour drive, and rode this wave of just panic, anxiety, normal, and made it out to California, met up with some fantastic people, Navy friend, a YouTube friend of mine, and ended up having an incredible experience. It was tough, but it set a mark in the sand and goes, hey, you can deal with this much now. What else can you do? So this is where the fitness side comes in. Part of your, at least my mental state, is really geared around how much physical activity I did. When everything shut down, stopped going to the gym, stopped doing all that stuff, so all that physical activity stopped. And that was a really big outlet for me. It's something that I've done all my life. So to not have it really, again, took away that piece of stability. And I found yoga. I'm 6 foot 230. Actually, at the time, I was 240 and just ballooning because all I was doing was eating, because I thought I had sugar imbalances. So I was always having sugar. It was bad. So trying to do yoga, wildly inflexible, and just hilarious. But it started to get my mind in the right spot. It started to get me in a not quite a routine. I still didn't quite have that down to where I could go 4 or 5 days a week and be fine. But it was a start, right? So it's 2022. It's in August, summertime. I decided that I was tired of not really knowing or remembering what that sugar deficit felt like. Like when you actually physically exert yourself and put yourself in that situation where you are shaky because you did burn calories and your glycogen stores and all that fun stuff, and you actually do kind of have a sugar crash. So I needed to physically push myself to that point, and I thought, the best way to do that, it's August, it's 102 outside, I'm gonna go for a run. I hate running. I haven't done it in a long time, and then to do it after not doing any sort of cardio training in a sense, needless to say, it kicked my butt. But what it did was show that I could deal with a lot. The feelings, because as I started running, I actually started to get those feelings of anxiety and panic as I'm starting to run. So I knew I could link that, like, okay, that is your mind doing that, and you're out here and you're fine. So keep going. So I did. I just kept running and came back, and I felt that shaky, but it made sense because I just sweated my ass off and was out pushing myself. So I used fitness and pushing myself to go, okay, this one's real because you're exerting yourself. This one is in your mind and you're allowing it to snowball. Take a second, look away, come back to the now, and refocus. So I kind of found that little breakthrough, if you will, that took 2 years to figure out. But I was able to go, okay, I can now work out without eating anything or drinking anything. First thing in the morning, I would go for runs, And I knew what that feeling felt like as far as your sugar crash goes. I keep saying that. I know you guys are going to cringe if you are far more intelligent than I am in this field, but it's the best way to describe it. I knew what all that felt like. And now when I would start feeling a certain way and I knew that I'm only sitting here, there's no reason for this, grab a thing of water, water's cold, brings me to the here and now. So that was a major breakthrough. From that point, I was like, okay, well, I'm running more now. What can I do to push myself? I'm going to train for a 5K. There weren't any 5Ks during the summer or in the winter. There's some later in the year, but I got a Garmin watch, this guy, and they have workouts. You can do a workout plan. And one of the plans was how to do a 5K safely so you don't blow up your shins or do anything terrible to yourself. So I started doing that, and lo and behold, I was at the end and put on my own 5K, was able to run that distance. And more importantly, I did it first thing in the morning with a caloric deficit, burning all your glycogen stores, and putting myself in not the most ideal situation physically. Like you'd want to have like water with you or Gatorade or anything like that. Being able to do that without any of that stuff really proved to me what I was capable of, but more importantly, what was real and what was in my head. And I know you probably try to find that connection of where this story is going, but that's it right there. My mind would make me think I was having an issue, so I would go and drink Pedialyte, drink food, drink a lot of water, eat some food whenever I started to feel a little weird. And that created this crazy cycle where I was just eating garbage and gaining weight and becoming more unhealthy and causing issues. So by doing the workouts and figuring out what was real, I stopped with Pedialyte. I stopped needing to eat when I thought I was needing to eat because I was going to have the shakes and everything, because I knew this just wasn't going to be the case. And then again, like that first therapist said, bring yourself back to now, and that's what I did. And it really helped. Now that I've kind of started going into these more extremes, I guess, I won't say extremes, training for stuff isn't necessarily extreme. It's just pushing myself. And I was like, I'm also still running, but I'm not really losing any weight. And I'm wondering if there's something else going on. But this time I wasn't going at it in a obsessive compulsive way. I was trying to look at it in a scientific way. So I found a nutritionist, and they actually did a blood test on me to see what my body was reacting to, what was holding on to water, what was causing inflammation, causing stuff like that, ruining my gut because I was having heartburn all the time. I had to pop like 4 or 5 freaking tons a night to go to sleep, and I was just tired of that. Part of it was because of my weight. My doctor said I had fatty liver. Well, we did ultrasound of the liver. Fine. We did another blood test after the first one said that had some weird markers. It was fine. He also, because of my height and weight at 235, 240 at the time, called me obese. So I was mad about that. So I got this nutritionist to kind of help really fix my gut and just sort of lose weight. So that was a whole 3-month process, I believe it was. 3 phases. And what all that did was essentially take me from 240 down to like 206, 210. And I felt great. Never had any gut issues. Problem was I had lost all of my muscle because, again, I wasn't really lifting anymore. I was eating really well, and I was doing more running than anything. And I'm like, okay, this has been great. How do I change it now to be more what I'm used to being like? I'm used to having some muscle on me. Never been muscle bound, but always been in very good shape. So I ended up finding some programs that were geared more towards the athlete type workouts, not necessarily the typical straight bench, squat, deadlift, like basic movements like that. A little more dynamic stuff that required some stability, single leg, single arm, stuff like that. And really kind of rework balance, work fast twitch, and really get the athlete back that I used well, I can't say I used to be, I'm almost 40, but it's close to where I felt good again. And it felt like I was an athlete in a sense. So I started doing these workouts. They were 3-month plans. And so I do 3 months, weigh myself and finding that, okay, putting weight back on. But when I do like a 360 body scan, I was like 15% more lean muscle as a whole. I also lost like 2-3% body fat. So yes, my weight was going up, but lean muscle was going on and fat was going away, which is great. What this was doing for me mentally was really just solidifying what I was capable of. What was anxiety before was now just like, okay, this is a fleeting thought. It's kind of got me a little itchy or a little crawly in my skin, but I can deal with it and it would go away within a matter of minutes. Because before, anxiety would last days, and there would be panic somewhere in between there, like anxiety one day, anxiety the other day, panic attack followed by anxiety. So it was just this unrelenting thing that I wasn't able to get rid of. With working out back in my life, those feelings, those anxieties and stuff like that, I just poured them in to the workout, and the dopamine that's released when you're working out, the feel good of just doing work was a game changer in my own psyche. So if you all are people that are used to working out and haven't, and are feeling that anxiousness or panic or anything, look into programs that can get you back in the gym. Not lifting the way you were before, but like getting a routine going where you can consistently do stuff. And that was the biggest thing that I really wanted to do, is I wanted to find a program or programs that I enjoyed, that had me improve and progress, that I could track. And I'm not plugging any one program more than the other one. I use Athlete X and end up getting all of their programs in general. I just like them. I know there's people that do and don't. That's fine, but I don't specifically use just theirs. I kind of mix and match what I know, because it's been years, and to what they have, because again, it's a different type of lifting. With doing those and having something set and a plan moving forward, you're able to really deal with a lot of issues. Because when I would have my panic attacks and my anxiety, I still had my wife and animals that I still had to be around. I still have my job to be able to go and function, be around people at a relatively high level and learn. I'm working on my MBA now, so finish my bachelor's and go to the MBA. So I still have to be able to be present for classes, sit and learn, retain stuff, and then go perform in an exam or presentation or what have you. So when I had anxiety and stuff, I couldn't do any of those things. Like, for instance, we got a Great Dane puppy, and I could not train her. I could not sit and deal with her at all. And she's a great puppy now, but it was a rough time trying to go through that mindset that I was in, and then provide for anything, including myself. So I know this video is kind of weird, kind of all over the place, but it's really been my mental and physical progression to get me to where I'm at now, which is finishing my MBA. I've decided that next year in April, May timeframe, I'm going to pursue a PhD. And I'm also doing a cut phase right now for 6 weeks to just see where I can get to. I'm dieting right now, and I'm training anywhere between 5 to 7 times a week. So like Tuesday, Thursday, 2 days or 2 cardio days. Monday is a lifting. So you think, yeah, that's about 7 times. Yeah, it's about 7 times a week. So it's pretty intense. It's really good, but it's just another form of push myself. And again, I still have 2 classes that I'm taking in MBA. I also lead for my company for the engineering stuff that I do. So there's a lot of stuff packed in. And again, I'm doing this YouTube. I have another YouTube channel that I'm helping grow. It's different motorcycle, Cali Moto TV. Check it out. I also do media for other companies around town. So I'm constantly doing things, but I'm also able to sit down and not do anything, which is kind of weird because ever since the military, I've never been able to do that until recently. It even still, like, I still kind of need some sound. Like, I need a little background noise for my brain to be okay, but much better than what I was. So I hope you all enjoy this video. It is different, and I'm hoping it'll help someone. I know that probably won't get a ton of views, but those of you that do, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you dealt with any of your issues, because this is a community. I like to grow it, and your suggestions might help better than mine. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and stay tuned for the next one. I'm not quite sure what it'll be about, but it'll be long and drawn out like this. Why not? Anyways, you have a great one.